Good morning. I'm Chaplain John Rollison with the Dobbins Air Reserve Base Chapel, and thank you so much for joining us for day 6 of our Advent Devotional series from Crew Ministry. Today's lesson begins with a reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 5. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool in Aramaic called Bethesda. And in these days, a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed, would lie there. And one man was there who had been an invalid for over 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" And the sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am going, another steps in before me." And Jesus said to him, "Get up, take your bed, and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his bed, and he walked. And may God bless the reading of his holy word. And we'll now have our devotional reading from Crew Ministry. Well, we just read in the passage that the man had been an invalid for 38 years, and certainly 38 years is a long time to have any type of physical limitation. His whole life was focused on one thing, to be able to get down into the water. There was a belief at that time that when the water was stirred up, that an angel was doing it and that they would be healed by getting into the water. So this was his belief, and this is what he was hoping on. So in his mind, there was only one way to be healed, to get into this water. But it might as well have been 100 miles away from where he was in his condition. He couldn't get in there because of his ailment. Whenever he would try to get in, somebody would get in front of him. And so the odds of him getting into the pool to be healed were pretty much close to zero. A terrible past with no hope for a better future. But out of nowhere, Jesus appears and he walks directly up to him and he asks him a very simple question. Do you want to get well? Do you really want to be healed? Sometimes we become so comfortable with our sorrow, pain, or whatever our handicap might be that unconsciously we've made it part of our lives, at times even profiting from it. Jesus wanted to know if this man was ready to be released from that condition to start a completely new phase of life that would include assuming responsibility for every act and becoming fully accountable to God for his actions. Just like Jesus ordered the raging storm to quiet down in the Gospel of Mark chapter 4, he ordered the illness to leave the man's body. Jesus did his part. The man only had to get up, get his bed, and walk, and he did. Jesus performed a miracle for him, and he can perform a miracle for us as well if we ask him to. I pray this brought you hope and encouragement this morning. Until tomorrow, I'm Chaplain John Rollison with the Dobbins Air Reserve Base Chapel.